Hey guys, a lot of people are talking about this massive new study that came out in the Lancet today about diabetes. Let's talk about it. So we have never seen a study of this scale in diabetes. It brings together data from 1,100 different studies, more than 200 countries, more than 140 million people. And it gives us trends in diabetes from 1990 all the way up to 2022 across the world. So the bottom line is that the prevalence of diabetes has doubled. It's gone from 7% to 14% on average around the world in those 3 decades, and the sheer number of people with diabetes has quadrupled to almost 830 million in that period of time. The other thing we learned in this study is that 60% of people with diabetes around the world actually don't have access to treatment for their diabetes. And unfortunately, what we've seen is if you look at low and middle income countries versus high income countries, the growth in the number of people and the prevalence of diabetes has been faster in low and middle income countries, whereas the growth in the access to treatment has been faster in higher income countries. So you have this growing disparity in the proportion of the population with diabetes that has access to treatment, and you have a growing number of people, hundreds of millions of people, unfortunately, around the world, particularly in low and middle income countries, who have diabetes but cannot access treatment for it. The scary thing about that is that in 10, 20 years, we might see this tidal wave of complications from diabetes because those complications take time to happen. Things like vascular disease, amputations, heart attacks, strokes. So what this tells us is that first we need better ways to curb diabetes itself, particularly in low and middle income countries, ways to reduce consumption of refined sugars and saturated fats, improve consumption of things like yogurt and green leafy vegetables and whole grains, reduce obesity rates, but we also need ways to improve access to treatment, particularly in those low and middle income countries. These are relatively inexpensive medications, but people just can't access them. We have lots of work to do in diabetes.